Hello EDH enthusiasts, welcome back to another video, and today we're compiling a tier list of every black card from the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth set. The tiers are F, D, C, B, A, and S. We'll be going starting with F and ending with S. This is based on their limited play capabilities, modern play capabilities, and commander play capabilities, but it is mostly just my opinion. Cards can be ranked higher or lower based on flavor as well. The only card in the black color that is in the F tier is Lobelia Sackville Baggins. This you have to get extremely lucky to get a good effect off of. If your opponents don't have anything enter the graveyard or you don't have the mana when something does, then this is completely useless and you end up getting nothing from it. 3 mana for a 2/3 just isn't good enough if you can't get the other effect to trigger. Moving into the D tier, we have Lash of the Balrog. This is basically Annihilating Glare, but it's not very good in Modern or in Commander. It's decent in Limited, so that's why it got D tier and not F. Also in the D tier is the Torment of Gollum. This is a 4-mana 2/2 that comes with Thoughtseize attached, but you can get a 2/2 and a Thoughtseize for 3 mana, so this is just below going rate. Moving into the C tier, we have Easterling Vanguard. A 2-mana 2/1 that replaces itself with a 1/1 when it dies is pretty good, but it's just not on the same level as a card like Crawling Chorus. Also in the C tier is Gorbag of Minas Morgul. This 2-mana 2/2 wants us to have goblins and orcs dealing combat damage to players, and it wants us to sacrifice them, but the effects it gives us for sacrificing them just aren't powerful enough. The next black card in the C tier is Shadow of the Enemy. This is a 6-mana card that lets you play everything that your opponents have played this game. The only problem is, at 6 mana, in Limited and in Modern, it won't be powerful enough, but in Commander, this is an absolute bomb. Next up, we have Snarling Warg. This is a 3/4 with Menace for 4, and just seems like a slightly worse version of Wartrained Slasher. Also in the C tier, we have Uruk High Berserker. Like I said in the white tier list video, 3 mana for a 3/2 isn't very good, but this one, when it enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you, so that's why it made it up to the C tier. And the last card from the C tier is Gollum Scheming Guide, 2-mana 2/1 that does some really crazy effects, but the effects are too complicated and are not good for new players who will be joining during the Lord of the Rings set. Also, this won't make a very good commander as a monocolor commander with this kind of effect. Moving into our B tier, we have Dunland Crebian. This is a 3-mana 1/1 with flying that also gets you a 2/2 orc army. This is very solid. You get 3/3 worth of power, and you've got some flying and some ground troops to help block or attack. This will be very solid, especially in Limited. Next up in the B tier is Gollum's Bite. This 1-mana -2/2 is Disfigure, but it also has the ability to pay 4 and exile it from your graveyard to get the ring to tempt you. If you have nothing that you can do, this is always a great option. Our third black card in the B tier is March from the Black Gate. A 2-mana enchantment that gets you a 1/1 when it enters isn't great, but then every time you attack with that 1/1, it gets bigger and bigger. This is especially good in any army tribal type strategies that are coming in Lord of the Rings. Next B tier card is Mondor Trebuchet. This is a wall that whenever you attack with your goblins or orcs, you get to create a boulder token that has flying and is a 2/1 that's also attacking. I think this is just such a funny effect and so flavorful for them flinging boulders at your opponents. Our next black card in the B tier is Nasty End. This is a really great way to draw cards in black, allowing you to draw 2 cards just for sacrificing a token, or draw 3 if you sacrifice something meaningful. Also here in the B tier, we have a Cave Troll. Troll of Khazad-dûm has some sort of super menace-like effect where it has to be blocked by 3 creatures. This is an effect I hope we see more often. It's also a 6/5, so it hits really hard. Also in the B tier, we have Witch King of Angmar. This 5-mana 5/3 makes it so our opponents won't want to attack us, and it's basically indestructible because as long as we have a card in hand, no one can remove it. And last but not least, we have the other Witch King Bringer of Ruin. This one's slightly weaker, but it makes our opponents sacrifice a lot of creatures throughout a game. We may also get some benefit by making them sacrifice the creature with the lowest power. They don't have a choice. Moving into the A tier, we have Claim the Precious. 3-mana removal is already very good, and this also lets the ring tempt you. This is just an even better version of Murder. Next up in the A tier is Gollum Patient Plotter. This is a great sacrifice payoff, and it allows you to get it back really easily. Our next A tier card is Gothmog Morgul Lieutenant. This is great in any black token strategies and especially in any army strategies. He's also a 3/3 for 4, so already pretty good. As long as you control an army, Grond the Gatebreaker is a 4-mana 5/5 with Trample, which is insane. It's also an artifact, so you can have that payoff too. Oath of the Grey Host is our next card in the A tier for black. This creates a lot of tokens, and the food that you give your opponents is cancelled out by the 3 life taken in chapter 2 of this saga. Then the final chapter gives you 3 creatures, which is very powerful. Also in A tier is Orcish Medicine. This is a 2-mana 1/1 that can give something indestructible or lifelink. This is very powerful, and if you've already got armies, it just makes those armies bigger rather than being a 1/1. 1-mana combat tricks are powerful, and Death Touch combat tricks are powerful, so why not combine them with Shelob's Ambush? And it also gets you a food token. Voracious Fellbeast is very powerful in one-on-ones, like Modern or Limited, but it's even more powerful in Commander, where you'll generally get 3 food tokens and 3 creatures sacrificed. Next up is Ring Wraiths. This is a 6-mana 5/5 with removal tacked onto it that just keeps coming back whenever the ring tempts you. This can come back and back and back and keep on killing stuff. Starting off our S tier, we have Bitter Downfall. This 4-mana removal spell can cost a lot less if your creatures have been dealt damage. This is just better Mirrodin Avenged, or you are already dead. Effects like this are usually more expensive or don't have the other person lose 2 life, so this is very powerful. Call of the Ring is also in the S tier because it is a new and improved version of Phyrexian Arena. For 1 less mana, it does the same thing, plus the ring tempting you. Grima Wormtongue is also in the S tier. Stopping your opponents from gaining life is very powerful, and if you can find a way to make your orc armies legendary, then this pretty much goes infinite, killing our opponents off 1 life at a time. Up next, we have Isildur's Fateful Strike. This 4-mana removal spell also makes our opponent exile cards from their hand, and this is the first legendary instant we've ever gotten. Mirkwood Bats is our next S tier card. This is insanely powerful with treasures, clues, foods, goblins, humans, every type of token you're creating draining your opponent out. In the S tier, we also have Morgul Knife Wound. This is 2-mana removal that if our opponent really wants to keep it around, they'll pay dearly. 2 life every turn will quickly drain out opponents if they want to keep their creatures around, and they have to exile it, not sacrifice or kill it, just exile it. Our next S tier card is the Nazgul. This 3-mana 1/2 finally gives Wraiths a reason to be built. This tribe really needed help, and now being able to have 9 Nazgul that are insanely powerful in your deck will really help them out. Orcish Bowmasters is also in the S tier. This little 1/1 will dish out tons and tons of damage and amass you a huge army of orcs. This is insane, and it's got flash. And the last but also best card from Lord of the Rings in the color black is Sauron himself, Sauron the Necromancer, bringing back stuff from your graveyard in the form of wraiths, and also giving you bonuses for bearing the rings. And this is your friendly reminder to expand the sphere by clicking that subscribe button, and also proliferate those like counters.